Are you guys ready? Today we're going to talk about chalk pastels. And you're going to need an apron because we're about to get messy.
Okay guys, what you see here, this was done with chalk pastel. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Here's another one. Just wanted to share with you really quickly what you can do with chalk pastels. Now, in our previous lesson, we talked about the artist Georgia O'Keeffe, and she did her pastel or her flowers really, really big so that you can see them on a monumental scale. Think about the Washington Monument and how big that is. So the first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to draw our flower on. So I don't want to think about a picture of a flower in my head. I want to get a real one. And so I really like this guy here. I think it's pretty awesome. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a pencil. And when I do this, I want to take a look at my photograph and I want to make this look really big on my paper. Now, this paper that I have is very small. It's just a regular size sheet of paper. The piece of paper that you're going to be working on is huge. It's an 18 by 24 piece of paper. This one is an 11 by 8.5. So when I do this, I want to make sure that I fill up the paper as completely as I can. Let's see, which one do I want to do? I think I'm going to work on this one in the middle. So I'm going to look here and I'm going to see where the top of this is. And I'm going to come down. Now, tulip is a fairly simple flower to draw, depending on which type it is. And I went with easy today just to show you so that I could go pretty quickly. And I want to get the basic shape of the flower. I also want the top of it to be in there, but see how I'm very close to, if not touching or going off of all sides of the paper. With a tulip, I don't really want it to go off all sides because then I wouldn't be able to see what it is. But with this kind of flower like this hyacinth, I could make sure that it went off all the sides. Or this pansy, I did the same thing. I made sure that it went off all the sides. So see how it's kind of cutting off. That makes your viewer think that there's something else there, something else kind of around the corner that they don't see. All right, so here I have the insides of my flower. I could also, if I wanted to, kind of make some marks and see where some of these dark spaces are. So I'm gonna do this part too. I'm gonna go in here and mark off where that yellow is gonna go. There's some white spaces down here. There's a yellow stripe here. There's a red stripe here going up the middle. It looks like there's actually a separate petal in here. And there's my very, very basic tulip. Okay. Kind of hard to see right now, but that's what you want. You want it to be really, really light. So now as I get ready to work with chalk pastels, I'm going to need a couple of things. Well, I don't know if you can see this, but I have very long sleeves on today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have them pulled up. Why do I have to wear something difficult today? Okay. So I'm going to make sure that they are pulled all the way up my arms so that I am not getting anything all over my sleeves. And I want to make sure that they're really secure. So I want them to be really, really secure up there so I'm not going to get anything all over myself. The other thing that I'm going to need is an apron. Because, guys, this stuff does get all over the place. So I'm going to put my apron on so that I don't get it all over myself while I'm working today. Okay, so now it's time for chalk pastels. The other thing to get ready for chalk pastels is that you want to clear everything off of your desk except for what you need. You don't want this stuff, it's very powdery. You don't want it to get everywhere. So you want to try to stay as neat as possible. Another thing that I do is I get a dry paper towel and a damp paper towel, not soaking wet, but just one that's damp. And then that way I can kind of take care of some cleanup at my desk while I'm here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my picture here, which I always want to keep handy for reference. And I want to look at the chalk pastels. Now, this is a brand new box. I don't know about you, but every time I get a brand new box of art supplies, it makes me very happy. So I am going to pick out some colors here that I think that I might use. You'll Notice that I did not get any black, okay? So these are just my colors for my flower. But guess what? There's something all around it too. There's a background. Now, it's always kind of safe to do a green background when you're talking about chalk pastels. So I'm going to grab some green. That doesn't mean you have to make it green though. Anything that goes with your flower is fine. So I'm going to get this dark green. All right, I wasn't real happy with the greens that I had, so I found some more. So I've got a darker green, and I want to get like a bright green. And then I don't know about this one. It's kind of teal. I don't think I like that one. All right, so I need at least 2 colors for my background. You want a shade lighter and a shade darker, and then all the colors of your flower. Notice that I put these on a separate sheet of paper. This can really help you out with a lot of different things, and we'll go through that as we go. So the very first thing that you want to do when you are putting on your chalk pastels is you want to do the background first. And I know that that sounds kind of funny, but that's exactly what you want to do. So what I do is put down a coat of chalk pastel right along the edge. And I'm going to use my darker shade right here. Okay. Okay, now after you have the basic dark places down, now we're going to do the light spaces. Now when you mix with chalk pastel, it's really kind of cool because what you can do is just take one color into the other color and they'll mix. That's the beauty of chalk pastels, is that there's a whole lot of mixing that you can do that's really easy. They cover a large space really fast. And so I can go through here and mix this really well. Now, watch my left hand because I am holding my paper down in the middle, but do you see what's happening to my paper? I'm getting some fingerprints on there, and sometimes the fingerprints are not a problem, but sometimes they are. So I'm going to use my damp paper towel to wipe off my fingers and my dry paper towel to then dry my fingers so that I don't get my paper to be as big of a mess. All right, so there's some people that really like to use their fingers a lot when they use chalk pastels. All I use my fingers for is a gentle blending once I'm done. You ever heard the saying that you can't squeeze blood from a stone? If you only put a little bit of chalk pastel on and then you just try to smear it around, you're not really going to do much. You have to actually press really hard. You have to get a lot of color on your paper to get the chalk pastel to get a really good coat on there. You don't want it to be what we call burned in, where it looks like you can see a whole lot of paper still underneath of it. So now we have pretty much the whole background done. You could, if you wanted to, kind of go in here and fix up some spaces if you wanted, but I just want to make mine nice and blendy like that. So at this point, I am going to clean off my fingers. I'm also going to clean up a little bit around my area. So I'm going to go like this. You don't want to blow it across the table onto somebody else's art or all over the place. You want it to be kind of right there with you. And oh my goodness, look what happened. My whole table turned green. Ah! It's not a big deal. Just clean it up. Okay. So here's another thing about working with chalk pastels. You're going to get a little bit messy. And you got to be really careful about touching your face, because I've seen lots of kids come out of my room looking like the Incredible Hulk because they're nice and green because their nose itches or they have an itch on their forehead and then they don't think about it and they just start touching their face. So be really careful about that. So I don't have to clean it up completely, but I do want to make it a little bit nicer. So now I'm going to start working on the color. Now if I reference back to my picture, remember I'm using this one. The first thing that I'm going to do is my lighter spaces. So I'm going to go through here and I'm actually going to use the white because the white will make those light spaces really bright. Now there's some green in there. And some people freak out about that. If you have some globs on there, you might want to kind of try to use your fingers and get rid of them first. But a lot of times, as long as your colors are not too dark, they'll blend in. So I'm going to start with my lighter colors. Go like that. I'm going to add my red. Whoops. But I really want to always make sure that I'm referencing back to my picture and kind of seeing what's there. Because, you know, flowers, one of the beautiful things about flowers is that they're really soft. And so that's one of the things that you want to kind of pick up on is, you know, how all these little lines go in the flower. So I'm looking here and I'm seeing all these really pretty lines in my flower. So I want to try to just do that by the stroke that I use, like how I just kind of put the color down here on my paper. I'm going to go back in over here. So this is one of the reasons that we do the background first. So if you do the background first and then you go back over this, you can get a really nice clean edge on the background. So then that way your background isn't cluttering up your paper later and making it look bad. All right, so I'm going to keep going on this. And as you go, you know, you can go back and forth with your different colors, mix and blend. Don't get too heavy with your fingers. Actually use the chalk pastels for a lot of it. Make sure that you're very aware of what direction you're going.
Here you go. It's all done, guys. Have fun.